Hi all, and welcome back to the John Deere B tractor restoration. And in the last video we talked about gearboxes again and we'd fitted the bottom shaft and fixed gears, and this time in this video we have now fitted the sliding shaft, which is this thing, and its respective gears, and the overdrive gear and shaft on the outside there. And I was right in my description, they all fit in this way. So you fit that overdrive gear first and then slide this shaft in, and as you slide it in you build these gears up on the shaft, with the final thing of putting the bearing in inside here, tapping it in so it all taps that way, and then put the snap ring in and the oil retainer which goes behind this gear here. So I thought we'd take an opportunity to just explain again how these gearboxes work. Very simple they are really. What we have here is this is your overdrive set of gears. So in that position there, that's in low, and then when it comes across here it's in high. You might be able to see the gears underneath that it connects to. If you recall, those two gears under there are the two gears that spin freely on that bottom shaft, whereas the other three gears are all rigid. And so here we have second and fourth gear, and there on the end is first, third and reverse gear. And right out on the outside we obviously have fifth and sixth, slightly different in that the sliding shaft get part of the fifth and sixth gear is at the bottom, on the bottom shaft, whereas the top gear is the rigid shaft, is a rigid gear. And so these gears are all, as to which ratio you're in, are all dependent on whether this is in high range, as it is here, or low range when it's pushed inside that overdrive gear, like so. So at the moment your range selector is in high, but the gearbox is in neutral, so it's not connected to the shaft in the bottom. So to go up the gears, if we put that gear there, we can get it to drop in. There we are. That's in. Well, actually, let's just go back a little bit. Let's put this gear here into low range. So it's in low range, that gear. So that is now in first. So I turn the gearbox over, turns over very freely. Yeah. So then we bring this gear out into neutral position, like that. Gearbox is now in neutral. Move the gear stick over into second, and then we're into second gear. So I've moved this into that position, and the gearbox is in second, like so. Bring that back out into neutral. Shaft is in, sliding shaft is in neutral position. Bring the high-low selector gear back onto the high range, like that. Still in neutral, but obviously the gearbox is in high range. Move this outer gear here into there, and the gearbox it's in now third gear, and it's starting to just get a little bit harder to turn over. Move that back into neutral. There we are, you see. And then bring this one over into there, which would be fourth, because of course we're in high range. And again, just starting to get a little bit harder to turn. Bring that back out there into there. Back in neutral but in high range, remember. Still in high range. So if we push that back over into low range, there we go, you see, low range, still in neutral but we're in low now. And then we go outside, and in that metal cover that sits down here, you've got your long selector that goes down, comes out of this back hole here, goes down, pushes that gear in there, like so. Now the range cog, this one, is in low, so we are effectively in 5th gear. It's starting to get harder to turn over. And then if we bring that selector gear there, bring that selector gear there, over into the high range position, sorry, getting a nice view of my hairy arm. The gearbox is, as we're still in gear down there, the gearbox is in top gear, 6th. And oh, I can hardly turn that over now, on that little shaft out there. I can hardly turn that by hand. I haven't got good enough grip. But if I turn it by this gear here, there we are. That's in 6th gear. If I bring it round here, you'll see the half shaft moving, possibly. There we are. See the half shaft move? Yeah. So there you go. That's rough principles of how it all works. If I take that gear out there into neutral, the gearbox should again be in neutral. And the final gear, and it won't get, once you have the selectors in, the final gear won't go in that position, because the final gear is reverse, and it will only go into reverse if the overdrive, high, low range, whichever you wish to call it, is in that position. And then you move your gear stick into reverse, and that 1st and 3rd gear, that one is slid across, and it slides across onto the crown wheel of the differential, like that. And that works directly on the differential. And if you see, if I turn the gearbox in the same way, suddenly the crown wheel has been turned in the opposite direction. But reverse will only work in low range when the gear is in that position. And you'll see on the selectors, when I show you them, that when that's moved into high range, and just for sake of argument, you've just been in reverse, and the reverse, sorry about that, reverse was in reverse, gearbox was in reverse, it would actually, the selector has a rod on it, and it pushes it out of gear, so it can't be put into reverse in high range. So yeah, so that's pretty well what that's all about. The selectors all sit in these grooves. They're like half moon things, and they sit in these grooves which allow these gears to move in and out. So over on the bench we have the selectors sitting, and that is roughly, well not roughly, that is exactly how they fit inside the gearbox. So here we have that long selector rod arm, that connects onto this gear here, comes down out here, and then you have, I'll move it out of the way, and then you have all your other 3 selectors, selector forks. They're called selector forks because obviously they have this like half moon part which looks like a fork. So there you have your there you have 1st, 3rd and reverse, 2nd and 4th, and finally the high low range selector, which as I say has that rod on, and it goes across behind all this middle selector, and if this was in reverse it would push it that way to push it out of reverse gear. The shaft there is what they all run on. And again, our favourite, there's the detents in the shafts, those little notches, and inside here, we let them out, drop them out. These things are on springs and they slide along the shaft and lock in, and that's what you feel when the gear sticks lock in. They lock into those. Remember, this is a sliding gearbox, unlike modern gearboxes where all the gears are in mesh. On a sliding gearbox, you actually physically are moving the gears to mesh in with each other, and that's why it's imperative with these tractors you stop, pull them into gear and move off, because they have no synchromesh. So when you clash them into gear, you literally are smacking gears against each other, smacking the teeth against each other. And those things here, these little detents, that's what locks the gear in position. So if you have a gear that keeps dropping out of position, it's probably because you've got a broken spring, or one of these things is actually stuck inside the housing. You can see them there, and that's how they sit. So I hope that roughly explains it all. I think we're all getting a bit sick of the gearbox now. So yeah. So this video is going on. One little thing, just we all make mistakes, and for those of you who might recognise these parts, you will notice that the castellated nut has been replaced here by a conventional nut. Cut a long story short, basically I put that whole sliding shaft back in the other day, and lo and behold, I'd left the oil retainer out on the bench. So I thought, right, nothing of a job, take the nut off, take the cog off, tap the retainer back in, there we go, tighten it all back up. Well, unfortunately, as I took the nut off, for some unknown reason, it decided to pick up the threads inside it. And so I had to cut the nut off, which is laid over here. There it is. I don't know if you can see that. All that gnarled up there. So we had to cut the nut off. And luckily I had some big heavy high tensile bolts which came off another job. And I remade a new nut, threaded it on the lathe. And there we go. Unfortunately I don't have the castellations, but it's a real tight, nice fitting job. We put on plenty of good quality Loctite. I don't think it's ever going to come undone. And then for good measure we put the split pin in, and just in case it ever did come on, at least it would stop the nut coming off and dropping in amongst the gears. So yeah, we all make mistakes. And you know how that mistake was made? I got distracted. That's basically what it was. Someone came in, I said I had a problem somewhere, got distracted and missed what I'd done. But there you go, such is life. So next job, we'll get them selectors in and see how they all fit together, and go from there. And then see where we go from there, yeah. Alright then, thanks again for putting up with me. Okay, bye.